I'm just going to upload a short video regarding my move from technically known as Sunni Islam to Shia Islam. Why did I go from Sunni Islam to Shia Islam? When you convert to Islam, most converts go down the Sunni route because they don't know that there are different schools of thought within Islam, and because the majority of Muslims are Sunni, and therefore you learn that Sunni Islam is the correct version of Islam, or the default version of Islam, and that other schools of thought within Islam are not correct. And like many people coming to the Sunni route, I was told, don't go near the Shia, don't read their books, they believe this, they believe that, they do this and that. So I encountered the narrations from the Imams of the 12 Shi'i tradition, and that got me wondering, why as a Sunni had I never heard about these Imams? Some people argue that just because there are Imams, it doesn't mean to say that the 12 Shia path is the correct path. But when I encountered the teachings of the Imams, and these teachings are basically like an exegesis of the teachings of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his holy progeny. They are commentaries upon the narrations of the Holy Prophet, or they are simply a hadith that have been transmitted directly from the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. So when I encountered these teachings, which you never encounter as a Sunni because you're always directed away from Shi'i books, that made me think, well, if the Sunni scholars of Islamic history that I have been hearing about in different classes and majalis and gatherings have collectively not spoken about the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt, the progeny of the Holy Prophet, and if they have collectively not spoken about the history of the Imams or what happened to the Imams, then this indicates that there has been a cover-up. Somewhere along the line there has been a collective decision not to talk about this history, or at least to try to conceal it as much as possible. It's very difficult to conceal the issue of the Battle of Karbala and the killing of Imam Hussein and his family members and companions. That is quite difficult to cover up, although I have to say that, again, when I was Sunni, I did not hear about what happened to Imam Hussein. Muharram could come and go and nothing would be said about the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. I vaguely heard about what happened to Imam Hussein alayhi salam from a particular minority Sunni group, but they were by no means typical of the majority of Sunnis. I remember also when I went to Syria in 2002, and I found in my Lonely Planet guide a reference to a place where the sister of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, Sayyidah Zainab, is supposed to be buried. And I went to visit this particular place. It's in an area of Damascus called Zainabiyah, named after her. And I went there to her maqam, to the place where she's meant to have been buried. At that time, just out of respect for the fact that she is the sister of Imam Hussein and she is part of the family of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. So I had a natural curiosity to go, and also a natural respect because she's part of the family of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. But before reading about that in my Lonely Planet guide, I had never heard of her. And then when I came back to the UK and I was talking with some Sunnis, and I said I had been to visit Syria, and I said I went to visit the mausoleum of Sayyidah Zainab, they said to me, who is Sayyidah Zainab? So this is the issue, that with regard to history, I found that it is the Shia who have preserved the history of what happened to Imam Hussein, peace be upon him. So regardless of the doctrines, that's a whole other discussion. What Sunnis tend to do when they are trying to disprove the Shi'i path is that they start to go into the discussion of the doctrines that appear in Shi'i Hadith collections, and they try to disprove the Shi'i school, or they try to say that it is shirk, as an example. It's kufr, it's unbelief based on certain doctrines that they read in the Hadith collections. let's put that discussion aside and let's just focus upon who has preserved the history of what happened to the Ahlul Bayt. And that history is preserved by those who eventually came to be known as the Shia. In fact, the title Shia itself is also something that went through various permutations in history, but going by today's labels, it is the Shia, the followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam, who is the follower of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, the one who fully practiced the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, that the Shia follow. So when the Shia follow Imam Ali, peace be upon him, as the successor to the Holy Prophet, in effect what they are doing is following the one who correctly implemented and explained the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. So when it comes to history, it is the Shia who have preserved this history, and if they had not preserved this history, we would have a very different kind of Islam in the world today. An Islam that knows virtually nothing about the family of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his holy progeny. And this is when he did say in the famous Hadith al-Thaqalain, the Hadith of the two precious things, which you can find in both Sunni and Shi'i collections, I leave for you two precious things, the Quran and Itrati Ahlul Bayt, the Quran and my progeny, Ahlul Bayt. And in some narrations he says, hold to those two and you will never go astray. So when I discovered this history of the Imams, first of all the existence of Imam Jafar Sadiq, peace be upon him, who many studied with, then his father Imam al-Baqir, then his father Imam Zain al-Abidin, then his father Imam Hussein, then his father Imam Ali alayhi salam, then you find that there is a whole history that has been concealed, which then brings you to the point about the Sunni construction of Islamic history. Who has constructed the Sunni version of Islamic history? Not only that, but also the Hadith collections. Who are those who have narrated the Ahadith in the Sunni canonical collections? So I went back to Sahih Bukhari, which I used to be told when I used to attend the Jummah khutbah every Friday at my university. I used to hear that Sahih Bukhari is the most sound book after the Holy Quran. And I lately heard from someone who at the moment is not adhering to any particular school, but he goes for Jummah Salah, and he said yes, they do say in the khutbah after Jummah that Sahih Bukhari is the most sound book after the Quran. And I was hearing it 20 years ago, so I was very interested to hear that they're still saying it. So I went back to Sahih Bukhari and I looked at the narrators in there, and I realized that a good portion of the narrators of a hadith in Sahih Bukhari were those who campaigned against Imam Ali alayhi salam. Talha, Zubair, Muawiyah, these personalities actively campaigned against Imam Ali alayhi salam in the Battle of the Camel, otherwise known as Jamal. And so then it became apparent that you cannot get away from politics, and that the hadith collections have been collated based upon political ideology. So the political ideology comes first, as in what is the correct version, what is the version of Islam that we want to promote. And once it has been decided with regard to the version of Islam that the caliphs wanted to promote, then the hadith collections follow upon that ideology. And definitely the Umayyad caliphs and the Abbasid caliphs did not want this history to be known by the majority of the Muslim population, and so they oversaw the collation of hadith collections that omitted this history and also omitted the narrators of that history. So this is a little introduction into my decision to move from the Sunni school over to the school of Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them. I have to say I was shocked when I realized that the things that you hear about the Shia in terms of what they say about how Imam Ali alayhi salam should have been the rightful successor of the Holy Prophet, when you actually realize that they're not just saying it, they're not just making a complaint, but they are actually right, it's a big shock, because